Hello, this video is a short explanation and overview of a standard summary, what things you should really consider and include, what are some key important pieces to maybe not include in a summary. So for anyone who is currently in English 90 or English 95, this particular article is actually from the book that we used for this class. If you're not familiar or not in that particular class, this is still a good example of a summary, and you can still use it to sort of guide your own summary writing for other courses. So just a couple of key reminders before we actually take a look at the example summary on the screen. When you're writing a summary, you really want to stick to the author's thesis and the author's main ideas. You don't add in your own opinion, own voice, none of that. That's a separate type of writing. For a summary, it's really just focusing on the key points from the author. So what that means is that you have to make sure that every single line in the summary references back to the author and that it's their idea, their information, and it came from that particular text, whether it's an article, documentary, whatever it may be that you're summarizing. So just a reminder that for my classes, the assignments are set up in MLA format, so the summary is set up in MLA as well, so you'll be able to see on the screen that it is standard MLA format. So I'm just going to scroll down to where we can see almost all of the summary on one screen. Now, a couple things to point out. When you're titling your summary, you can't use the same title as the article because that's actually plagiarism. That's not your title, that's the text is title or the article title. So what you can do is you can phrase it as something like summary of and then the title, or the title summary, right? So summary of major decisions. Major decisions is the article title. Since this is an article, notice that it is marked with punctuation. It's marked with quotation marks on either side. Also, it's capitalized like a title, meaning the first letter of each major word is capitalized. So those are two really small details, but they stand out when you're marking titles. So you want to check and make sure that yours is correct. Now, for this article, you can see that the title and full author's name start off the summary paragraph. And it's set up that way to make sure that it's very clear where this information is coming from. What are you summarizing? So this one says in major decisions. So there's the article title right there. Cecilia Simon, that's the author. And what does Cecilia Simon do? She's acknowledging something. So Cecilia Simon acknowledges students have a hard time deciding on a college major, but she claims that students make wise decisions by exploring, planning, and considering their future. So a couple of key notes. Summaries should not be quotations. They should be paraphrases of the original text, meaning that you flip all of the author's main ideas and you write it into your own words. A couple reasons for doing that. One, when you're summarizing, you should be condensing the information from the article. So if you directly quote, you're probably not going to be condensing the information that quick, or you're going to be leaving out things that you should have included. So it's really important to make sure that you are paraphrasing, again, putting the ideas into your own words. If there is ever a phrase that you cannot figure out for how to put into a paraphrase, either ask your instructor for help, visit the writing center, or put quotation marks around that specific phrase. All right, so you always want to err on the way of caution when quoting. Like if something is directly quoted, even if it is just a short phrase, go ahead and put quotation marks around it. Don't assume that you don't have to. Again, to paraphrase accurately, you've got to really rephrase the entire statement. So that very first sentence that I read, that is the thesis from this particular article. Of course, for those of you who have the book, you can go back and read the article and see how that represents what it's saying. For those of you that don't, you can just take it on word that yes, that does accurately reflect the thesis from this particular article. And then after that is all the main ideas from the article. So you'll see they're written in multiple sentences, but there is roughly something like, I want to say maybe 8. I'm not counting them exactly, but something like 8 main ideas in this particular article. Couple of key things to note. When we talk about main ideas are not going to be quoted sources, research, statistics, examples. They are going to be the bigger ideas of what those examples, statistics, etc. is supporting or showing. So you don't ever include quotes by other people. It's just the author's ideas. And examples, statistics, etc., those are not included. Those are considered supporting details. They're supporting one of the ideas from the article, not actually stating the main idea. So all of these are phrased from the author's perspective. They're the author's main ideas. And again, they're all paraphrased. Now, something important that I wanted to point out. It is very important, and I can't emphasize this enough, that every single sentence in the summary, the beginning of the sentence, needs to make it very clear that this is coming from a source. All right? So in other words, every single sentence should begin with one of these introductory phrases. They're called signal phrases. They're also called lead-in phrases sometimes. And what these literally are is, you can see I've highlighted them all. The first one just includes the author's name and title, because again, that's the first time we're introducing the source, so you got to include it all. After that, it's either the author's last name or the correct pronoun. In this case, a student that wrote this did know that this was a woman, and so it was appropriate to use the word she. You may not always know that, so just be really cautious if you're using a pronoun that you're using the correct one. But you'll see that every single sentence has this beginning phrase. If you do not have this, that can actually be unintentional plagiarism. So it's super, super important that every single sentence in your summary begin with one of these phrases. The author explains, the author describes, the author writes, asserts, quotes, whatever the author is doing. The author researches. But make sure that you are attributing every single sentence in your summary to the author. And again, this is a great example that does that. So that is a really important part of doing the summary correctly, besides just making sure that you have the correct thesis and main ideas, of course. The other piece of a summary that is a little bit different for some of you that are maybe new to MLA, or you haven't done a lot of work yet with MLA, I'm going to highlight this in sort of a different color, is that because it is a summary, it's a summary of the entire article, meaning that your in-text citation goes at the end of the summary paragraph, and it actually spans the full-length pages of the text or article. So in this case, it was from pages 122 to 125 in the book, so therefore I mark 123 to 125. You'll see that punctuation in this is completely correct, so again, if you have questions about exactly what MLA looks like when it's set up correctly, this can show you that. As well as, and this really, the works cited technically should be on a different page, just for the sake of doing the summary. Description on this, I put it on the same page, but this would also be a correct works cited citation for this particular summary. And when you do a summary, you do need to include a works cited page, or if you're doing a different type, not MLA, maybe APA or Chicago, then you need to include a reference page or a citation page, depending on what type they require. MLA, it's a works cited. And you'll see that the citation begins with the author, last name, first name, title of the article, title of the book where it came from. This is one little error that the student has, so I'm just going to correct it actually. Give me just 1 second. So I'll make it 100% correct. The title of the book should actually be italicized, so that's what I just corrected. And then the publication information. So the publisher, city of publication, date, and then the page numbers. And again, writer's handbooks can help you with this. There's a lot of different sources online that can also help you set up a works cited page. But this is the sort of basic layout. So this is a strong example of what a summary looks like. Again, the summary, as far as length, it should always be a condensed version. It's rarely going to be only 1 or 2 sentences when it's an actual summary paragraph or summary assignment. It's going to be more than that. Very few articles only have 1 or 2 main ideas. They tend to have many more than that. So don't get into that kind of trap of thinking, oh, well, it only has 1 key point. If it has 1 key point, that's probably the thesis of the article, but then all the specific points that they use to support their thesis, that's going to be the main ideas. And then, of course, each main idea has specific supporting details to support that idea. So to help you understand kind of the breakdown, I wanted to show you a reading outline as well, because this can be really helpful sometimes if you are writing a summary, is to create some sort of outline for the article that you've read. This is a pretty detailed outline, but it's a good one just to use as an example. So it starts with what the topic of the article is, then it identifies the article's thesis. Then this one identified central ideas. That's like the idea of different sections in the article. Main ideas typically reference 1 paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs at the most. So you'll see that it lists out the main ideas, what the supporting details are for each main idea, and again, it does that. I don't have all the supporting details listed out for the later ones. I just wanted to show the breakdown for the first couple. So this is an idea of what you can do, and really what you're doing when you're writing a summary is you're just trying to identify the thesis and the main ideas. But if you can break down the entire article and actually categorize what does each sentence in the article, where does it fall? Is it a supporting detail? Is it a main idea? Is it a thesis? Then you can accurately pull out the correct information to write your summary. Summaries should always be, again, shorter. They're smaller than the original, and they should always accurately reflect the article's ideas and not your own. So again, really come back to it needs to be articles. You can't twist or put a spin on what the article is saying. You have to really accurately understand the article and then rephrase the ideas. Again, it's paraphrasing, rephrase the ideas into your own words to correctly sort of set up the key points, okay? So again, just to recap, this is summary, so thesis from the article or text, main ideas from the article or text, no outside opinion, should try and avoid quotes when possible in a summary, and always try and paraphrase the material. Any other questions, of course, you can always reach out to me. Other than that, hope this helps, and good luck.